Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen Chasta, and I'm a master's student in medieval environmental history at the University of Waterloo, currently working with Stephen Bednarski as my supervisor. With his help, I was able to participate in the Herstmonceux project this past summer, and I spent 6 weeks in May and June at Herstmonceux. And I just wanted to say a few brief words about how this type of experiential learning benefited me and helped me take steps which will further my career as a historian. First of all, in terms of my own research, my time there really was complementary, as I'm working on environmental history, and you've heard this morning about the climate change that we're investigating at Herstmonceux and all the different findings and discoveries that are going on in that field. And as I'm also working on environmental history, it really was a complementary thing that inspired me to further refine my own thesis and help me directly to where I wanted to be working. Like all the rest of us presenting here who went to Herstmonceux, I was able to spend some time on the archaeological side of the project, working with Amelia Fairman, who presented this morning. And doing that, I aided with the preliminary cleaning of the ground at the site of the stables, wielding a mattock and so on, cleaning off the turf, and then went down to the finer details of using a trowel and slowly refining what the site looked like and what we found as we uncovered things. It was a really great experience to get something like that because it's not something I really encountered reading my history books as much, so it's great to be out in the field as like Daphne was talking about and see things on the ground level. I also helped with the cataloging of the archaeological finds that Amelia mentioned this morning, digitizing the projects and like further bringing together everything that's been looked at and that's been found along the grounds, so compiling it and making it easier to access by others. So I had a chance to experience a little bit of everything from swinging a mattock to creating spreadsheets. So that was a really great aspect of the trip. Going over as a graduate student, I was able to work as a research assistant during my time there, which is a little different from the undergraduate experience in that I got to work on a collaborative research effort with the historian at the castle, who was Dr. Lucas Villegas Aristizabal. And so I, along with 2 other graduate students from Queen's, spent the summer also working with him, going through archives and annals, court documents, manorial records, and all kinds of charters and so on, researching a particular medieval figure, a knight by the name of Savary de Mauleon, who was one of the signees of the Magna Carta and lived a very full and interesting life. So just as an interesting aside for his life, not only did he participate on the 5th and 6th Crusades, as well as crusade in Spain, but he also fought for the English against the French, for the French against the English, and on both sides of the Albigensian Crusade. So quite a broad-minded character, not much loyalty involved. But so it was a very interesting project, and it culminated in the presentation of a paper by Lucas at a crusading conference in Odense, Denmark at the end of June. So not only was this experience beneficial to me just from an experiential point, but will also give me my first credit in the academic field once the article is published in a journal. While working on this research, I made several trips to archives and magnificent libraries in London, which served to be a great tool. Plus, as a historian and academic, we all love a good library. So I spent a good bit of time at the British Library and the University of London, and at the Institute of Historical Research in particular. All of these had resources unavailable to us here in Canada, particularly in terms of primary source documents. So the trip to England helped me encounter these in a much more personal way, much easier access than something I would be able to experience here. There's not much in the way of Canadian medieval history. Finally, the Herstmonceux project greatly increased my research abilities and gave me the chance to experience some medieval history firsthand, from seeing the many castles and battlefields in England to working on the historical documents, as I mentioned, and working on getting accredited publication. So just overall, it was a very beneficial experience which greatly aided me in furthering my career as a historian, and I'm very grateful to both the BISC and the universities of St. Jerome's and Queen's, and to Dr. Bednarski for all their assistance in letting me partake in such a wonderful opportunity for me. And I greatly appreciate the time I had over there, and it was really just a wonderful experience. But I'm going to pass the mic off to my fellow students now, and thank you very much.